everyone, I'm glad to be back. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but I'm excited for today's show. And it's all about chocolate. And I know that's not one you're going to want to hear, but because who doesn't love chocolate, right? So I was the youngest of 7 kids growing up, and I was fortunate to grow up on a potato farm because I live in Idaho. And it was also a cattle ranch. And the nearest town was about 15 minutes away. And candy just wasn't in the house. I'd go to my friend's house and they had candy jars and we just didn't. And I just craved chocolate. Like sharing candy with my mom, wanted me to go into town shopping and I'd say, can we buy some candy? Can I buy a chocolate bar? And she's like, sure. Well, how about we buy 2, one for me and one for you? And she goes, oh, no, we can share. Well, imagine me staring at my mom in disbelief as she scarfed down half of the candy bar in one bite. Not cool for a kid. Well, I was about 8 years old and I was in the house by myself and everyone else was outside, so I thought it was a good time to look for something sweet to eat. And I figured my mom had a stash in there somewhere. I figured a great place to start would be in the kitchen cupboards because this is where my mom spent most of her time. And so I happened to open up the cupboard with all the spices in it, and would you believe I found chocolate? Now, at first I was rather irritated at my mom. I thought to myself, I knew it. I'm never sharing candy with her again. Oh, but it was a beautiful sight. And I had found chocolate. Now, the package said baker's chocolate. Perfect. Bakers make yummy things like cakes and cookies, right? So just as I was climbing down off of the counter with my box of chocolate in my hand, I heard the back door open. So I quickly ran into my bedroom and quietly shut the door. I opened the box and slid the chocolate out promptly. My mouth was watering. And then I took a huge bite. I figured a great big bite right now, and then I can savor the rest for later. Well, just then my sister came bolting through the door. Now, luckily, she wasn't paying any attention to me, which is a good thing because I think my face had a horrible look on it. My eyes started to water so bad, and I desperately wanted to spit it right out. What the heck? Why would my mom hide such awful, bitter chocolate? Now, once I could see clearly, I read the box again, and it said, Baker's Baking Bar, unsweetened, 100% dark, and then I thought it said cacao. Now, it's really pronounced cacao, but it turns out that this was chocolate used for baking, and you have to add a sweetener to it. And I thought, what is wrong with my mom? And I can see why she hid it. She doesn't want anyone to eat it. Well, did I ever learn my lesson? And I thought no one should ever have to eat that. Well, now, luckily, not all chocolate tastes like that. Some say that all chocolate is good for you, and then others say to eat only dark chocolate. And then others say milk chocolate can have health benefits. And then you can't forget about white chocolate. So chocolate in and of itself is not bad. But first, before we get into the details, I want to give you a little bit of history about chocolate, because it's kind of long and complicated, and it spans over thousands of years, and many different cultures have used it. And it actually grows in abundance near the Amazon region, because it's a hot, humid climate, and the name of the tree is Theobroma cacao. Now, archaeologists discovered traces of cacao. This was thousands of years ago, and they found traces of the cacao bean DNA in some pottery and in some different pots. And then the Mayo Chinchipe culture used it in Ecuador, and then there was the Mesoamerican civilization, and they were first to ferment, toast, and grind the cacao beans. And other cultures used it in religious rituals and official ceremonies and even in funerals, and then they also used it for medicinal purposes. Basically what they did was they roasted the cacao seeds and they made a paste, and they took the chocolate from it and then put it into a drink, and it consisted of water, chili, corn, and chocolate. Now that sounds horrible to me, but apparently they liked it. Then the Aztecs, back in the 1400s, it was so valuable to them that they imported it, and they used it as currency and also accepted it as tax payments. So how cool would that be to the U.S. government? I'm sorry, I can't pay my taxes with money, but I can use cacao beans if you don't mind. Wouldn't that be awesome? Then in 1528, there was a Spanish conquistador. His name was Hernán Cortés from Spain, and this is how he described the cacao bean. He said it's the divine drink which builds up resistance and fights fatigue. A cup of this precious drink permits man to walk for a whole day without food. And then in 1689, Sir Hans Sloane from England, he learned of its medicinal properties. Now, he thought it was really bitter, and so what he did was he added milk and sugar, and that's what started the hot cocoa or hot chocolate. Then in 1847, the chocolate bar came out, and it consisted of just the cocoa powder, sugar, and cocoa butter. Then in 1875, the first milk chocolate bar came out, and it was made by Daniel, Peter, and Henry Nestle. So now you know where Nestle chocolate come from. And then in 1936, the first white chocolate bar came out, and that was an accident. They had just been mixing milk powder with cocoa butter. So chocolate's been around for thousands of years, many different kinds ever since. So we have cacao and then we have cocoa. So what's the difference? Okay, cacao beans are found in large leathery pods. Now, they look like a long, fat walnut, but a lot bigger. And inside you'll find about 20 to 25 beans in each pod. Now, these beans are fermented. Then they're ground into larger chunks called nibs, or also they can make a powder out of it. Now, cacao powder has a high nutritional value, so it's a good source of minerals like magnesium, iron, and potassium. Okay, then we go to cocoa. Now, after this fermentation, they dry it, and then the beans are roasted, and then they're cracked, and the outer shell's taken off, and they ground this into a paste, and then it's made into a powder. But at that time, it's still really bitter. Now, both are healthy, but what makes it unhealthy is when you add the sugar. So, as you guessed, milk chocolate is the ingredient that I would stop eating right now. I know, that's harsh. How can we live without milk chocolate, right? Now, if you look at a Snicker bar, it has 28 grams of sugar, so that's a lot. And I actually did an episode, it was titled, Why Give Up Sugar? So I encourage you to give that a listen. Okay, so I'm saying milk chocolate is bad if it has the sugar in it, and dark chocolate is good. So that's one ingredient that you should keep in your diet. Now, before I tell you why, I want to take a minute and talk about the white chocolate. Okay, so white chocolate's not really chocolate at all. It has cocoa butter, and that's a fatty substance that's left after the cacao bean is processed, but it has no chocolate solids whatsoever. And then you find also the sugar and the milk solids. So why would you want to keep dark chocolate in your diet? Okay, besides having the magnesium, the iron, and the potassium. It has polyphenols, and these are plant compounds that act as antioxidants. And then it has non-polyphenols like theobromine, theophylline, and caffeine. And it can keep you up at night. Okay, one bar has about 80 milligrams of caffeine. So if you're sensitive to caffeine, I wouldn't eat any dark chocolate after noon. Okay, now I do have to give you a word of caution because the FDA and the CDC and then California Proposition, it says that dark chocolate contains high heavy metals, and they say it has lead and cadmium. Now, this concern came about because consumers report they tested 28 brands of dark chocolate, and they say that 23 had heavy metals. Now, they did use California's Proposition 65 to determine these unsafe amounts, what they think is unsafe. And California Proposition 65 is very strict, and it won't allow for even trace amounts of any toxins. And then, of course, the FDA and the CDC allow higher amounts to be safe. And I do recommend one bar that you can eat, and I'll tell you at the end what that is. But the bottom line is almost everything that you're exposed to has trace amounts of toxins. Because every day we're bombarded with toxins, either by adaptive toxins from everyday living, like from your environment, the food you eat, the water we drink, heavy metal toxins, and even pollution. We're even exposed to certain degrees of toxins or byproducts from cellular processes within the body. Now, our bodies need help eliminating these toxins, or over time, your major organs can be affected. Okay, and this is how many illnesses begin. And that's why I highly recommend a product called Purify. It's from the 3 International Company, and I personally use it daily. And what this product does is it detoxes and cleanses 5 organs in your body, so your liver, lungs, colon, kidney, and skin. By taking Purify, not only are you helping to clean out the junk in your body, you're also helping it to absorb the nutrients it needs. It's not like a laxative detox like some other brands, so you're not going to experience diarrhea. And if you're trying to lose weight, it's virtually impossible until you can get those unhealthy toxins out of your body, so it's worth taking. And you can find Purify on my website, jeannieolson.iii.earth. Okay, so let's talk about the health benefits some more on dark chocolate. And there's quite a few, actually. It may protect your heart because cocoa is rich in flavonols. And what the flavonols do is they relax your blood vessels, improves your blood flow, lowers your blood pressure, and reduces inflammation. And milk chocolate, when it's loaded with sugar, does just the opposite. It causes inflammation. Also, experts say if you eat 2 grams a day for 6 months, you can have improved cholesterol or triglyceride levels. It also decreases your risk for diabetes by improving your fasting blood glucose and insulin resistance. It's good for your gut microbiome because it's considered a prebiotic. It can improve your mood. It's great for stress. I think that's why when you're feeling really stressed, the first thing you want is that chocolate because it lowers cortisol and epinephrine or adrenaline. Okay, and those are your stress hormones. It can improve your brain function. Flavonoids protect neurons, okay, and this enhances cognitive function. It improves the blood flow to the brain, and it may offer some protection against Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. Eating dark chocolate can also help you have a stronger immune system, okay, because of the antioxidants. It helps to get rid of those free radicals. Okay, it can also enhance athletic performance because it has nitric oxide in the blood. Okay, and what this does is it improves circulation and lowers the amount of oxygen you need when exercising. So, if you're feeling a little bit fatigued before you start to work out, just eat some dark chocolate. It can also help to reduce menstrual cramping because of the magnesium. Dark chocolate has a lot more magnesium than milk chocolate. So, dark chocolate would have 114 milligrams, and milk chocolate has 31 milligrams, plus that added sugar. And then lastly, it's a good source of iron. It has about 8 milligrams of iron in it versus 1 milligram in milk chocolate. There is another word of caution. You do want to check with your healthcare provider before consuming it if you're pregnant. Even though it can help lower blood pressure in mom, excessive amounts can lead to narrowing of arteries delivering oxygen to the baby. Okay, now I have 3 takeaways. So 1, quit consuming milk chocolate. 2, consume dark chocolate in moderation 2 or 3 times a week. If you're not having a whole lot, you can have it every day. And then choose a healthier dark chocolate with no sugar. Try and find chocolate that is at least 70% or more cacao. And of course, no artificial ingredients. And then the least amount of ingredients is best also. Now, I told you that Consumer Reports recommended 1 bar. And that was Ghirardelli, and its Intense Dark Twilight Delight has 72% cacao. Now, I agree this one's good, but it also has 3 grams of sugar, so that's not a lot. So if you did eat it in moderation, it shouldn't spike your blood sugar or cause any inflammation. But there are some better options, and there's 2, come from Nutrition Advance, and they say one is called Chalk Zero, and it's sugar-free keto bark, and it's actually sweetened with monk fruit. And you can find that online, but it is a little bit expensive, and it's going to be slightly bitter. And another one that they recommend is called Keto Manna, and this is a ketogenic chocolate fudge, and it's moderately sweet, so it's not as bitter. Kind of has a coconut chocolate flavor, also sweetened with monk fruit. And one drawback is it's good for the keto diet because it's high in fat, but sometimes you don't want to have all of that fat. But the fat does come from MCT oil. And then lastly, the one that I eat is from Choco Love, and this is a no sugar added mint dark chocolate, but it only has 60% cacao. And what it's sweetened with is chicory root fiber. And that one's pretty good. I usually just have about 3 squares a day just to kind of get my chocolate fix, Okay, now the best option for overall health, if you're not seeking to curb that chocolate craving, is to use cacao nibs. And these are the cacao beans that are grinded up. And then there's no other ingredients, but they're really bitter tasty. So you can add them to like smoothies, homemade fruit and nut bars, trail mix, or you could put it in old-fashioned oatmeal or even low-sugar yogurt. Okay, so I know it's not easy to switch from milk chocolate to dark chocolate, but the immense health benefits are worth it. And then just remember everything in moderation. You don't have to eat the whole bar at once. Just a few squares a day is all it takes. And then you can get your chocolate fix and improve your overall health. Okay, so I hope you found this episode helpful, and please share it with someone who you think will benefit from it. And remember this, living without God in your life is like running a marathon without training. You'll run out of energy the first mile. Living with God, when your strength runs out, His strength begins. See you next time.